Ahoy hoy! A lot of people I talk to, whether it's in my work or in my comment section, seems to think that self-hatred is just a bad habit, like biting your nails, or saying that Fortnite sucks. Something that they should just stop doing. But this framing is misleading and just flat out wrong. This rhetoric makes it sound like a conscious choice, and we just choose poorly. And for most people, especially those who grew up around shame or instability, self-hatred isn't a decision, it's a reflex. A reflex doesn't ask permission. It's pre-verbal, pre-thought, pre-hope. Like pulling your hand away from a hot stove or when the doctor hits you with the little hammer thing on your knee. And if your life has taught you that you're the problem, then flinching away from your own worth becomes automatic. I want to submit to you that for many people, for many of us, negative self-talk is just automatic, non-chosen, and given to us by someone or something else. I'm going to show you how this plays out in video games, and ultimately, I'm going to help show you how to change something that you never wanted in the first place. And hey, if this topic already hits pretty close to home, hey, don't forget to go ahead and subscribe. That'd be fantastic. I talk a lot here about how games reflect our inner lives, especially the parts that we usually keep quiet. I get it. I don't want you to miss something that might help you feel heard or understood. So do yourself a favor, go ahead and subscribe. Plus, subscribing will help me get out more videos on this type of topic right here. I'd love to write more that helps you. Thanks. Silent Hill 3 follows Heather Mason, a teenage girl dragged into a nightmare, one shaped by cult trauma, secret histories, and the aftershock of her own birth. She's not a willing hero. She's someone who just wanted a normal day at the mall and instead finds herself haunted by monsters that are not entirely hers. Heather didn't ask to be a vessel for other people's beliefs, or for God. Gotta play the game first to get that. But over and over, she's told that she has a destiny, a burden, a role she didn't consent to. The game's horror is deeply personal. Not really jump scare oriented, but more about the dark horror of emotional inheritance. Guilt she didn't earn, grief she didn't choose. And that's the ground that reflexive self-hatred comes from. It can look like carrying the emotional weight of things that happened before you were even aware of them through a story you didn't even choose to write. You don't know why you're angry or tired or full of shame. You just are. Because someone, likely a parent figure, sorry about that, handed you a story about who you were supposed to be. And you've been trying to survive inside it ever since. This is deeply connected to a psychological concept called intergenerational trauma. Intergenerational trauma is the idea that the pain and the stress experienced by one generation, think of things like war, abuse, racism, grief, loss, these things can quietly echo through the lives of these people's children and grandchildren. Even if you didn't personally go through trauma, you might still find it has some poisonous effects, things that linger, things that still live despite being long gone. You might find patterns of anxiety, emotional disconnect, or inherited beliefs about safety, success, or worthiness. It's not just about what happened to your family, it's about what your family had to do in order to survive, and how that survival shaped their very concepts of love and fear and identity, and how those got passed down to you. And it's pretty haunting stuff to think about. I want to offer more on that in a future video, but for now, let's just say that its effects can easily be the thing that primarily shapes our thoughts about ourselves and our narratives around ourselves. Oh, speaking of narratives around ourselves. In Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, you play as Senua, a Celtic warrior journeying into the Norse underworld to reclaim the soul of her beloved. Senua lives with a version of psychosis, let's say, and the game portrays her inner world in raw, immersive, spine-tingling detail. Voices whisper constantly, second-guessing every moment, every movement, criticizing every decision. The brilliance of Hellblade is that those voices aren't always monstrous. Often they sound exactly like the voice in Senua's own head.
What were you thinking? Did you really think you could win? How stupid can you be?
So stupid.
The voice in our heads. They sound like us when we're anxious, when we're dissociating, when we think we're keeping ourselves safe by tearing ourselves down before anyone else can. Senua doesn't hate herself because she's weak. She hates herself because she's learned that trusting others leads to loss, that loving people ends in death, that hope is a trap. Her self-hatred is like her armor, built piece by piece from fear and abandonment. That's what makes it a reflex. It feels like safety, even when it's killing her, and even when it's killing us. It's time to take off that armor. You can now. It's safe. FromSoft's Bloodborne is a gothic horror action RPG set in the decaying city of Yharnam, where a mysterious plague has turned people into beasts. You play as a hunter, trapped in a never-ending night, slashing your way through creatures that look disturbingly human. Sometimes. Like something once tender that's been twisted beyond recognition still lives inside a creature somewhere. The game doesn't explain itself. You're just dropped into violence from your perspective, and survival becomes instinct. And that's the point. Bloodborne teaches you not to guard yourself, to follow instinct, and to always be on the offensive. Protection and healing is slow and vulnerable, but hitting back is instantly rewarding. So you learn to stop waiting. You stop shielding. You stop responding to others. You strike first, and you strike harder again and again. The world is so hostile. The world is so unknowable that you begin to absorb its rules, or what you perceive it to be its rules. The only way to stay safe is to stay aggressive. And that kind of thinking bleeds into your identity. You don't just fight monsters, you start to become what the world expects of you. Something relentless, something ruthless, something unapproachable. And that's what self-hatred can do to us when left unchecked. It doesn't always look like collapse and depression, though it can. Sometimes it looks like perfectionism, control, hyper-independence. You stop asking for help because vulnerability feels dangerous. You don't just protect yourself from pain, you erase the parts of you that could be hurt in the first place. It's incredibly tragic how many people are like this in their day-to-day lives. If this is you, I'm sorry, and this next section is for you. So, what do we do with this? Well, if self-hatred is a reflex, then healing isn't about stopping the reflex directly. You can't really stop your knee after the doctor hits it with the little hammer thingy. It's about slowing down the space between stimulus and response. It's about noticing the voice that whispers, "You're too much," or "You'll never change," and asking back at it, "Where did you come from? Who taught you to say this? Is this actually true, or is it just my self-hate reflex talking to me again?" In therapy, we often say if it's hysterical, it's historical. Meaning, if your emotion response is overwhelming and automatic, it probably has roots in something older than the present moment. Maybe something older than you. And that reframing, that curiosity to your own automatic thought process, can be disarming in the best way possible. Because it reminds you, this voice in your head is not you. It feels like you. It's not you. It's someone or something else. It's an echo, an instant click of your mind, a scar that you've now adapted around. It's a reflex. Games like Hellblade, Bloodborne, or Silent Hill 3 don't always offer hope in the traditional sense, especially if you play more of those games, you will understand that. but they do offer recognition. They remind us that being haunted isn't a personal failure. It's a consequence of having survived something that tried to silence us. Say that again. All right, I'm going to say that again. These games remind us that being haunted isn't a personal failure. It's a consequence of having survived something that tried to silence us. You're still here, and I'm super glad for that. And maybe by naming that self-hatred, naming it as a reflex, not a personal flaw, we can now make space for something different, even if it's just a little bit. Not perfection and not constant self-love, just some breaths, just a pause. A willingness to treat our inner critic not as a truth teller or an oracle, but as a frightened voice that deserves to be heard and then released. Not all reflexes need to be obeyed. Some need to be honored and witnessed and gently rewritten. Let's rewrite our narratives together and release these where we can. As usual, at the end of my videos, I want to give you a reason to subscribe. If this resonated with you, if you have ever felt like you were punishing yourself without knowing or understanding why, you're not alone. You will be able to find some of those answers by, hitting that subscribe button. Woo! Who would have guessed? This is not the same as therapy, but it is going to touch on a lot of the same stuff and a lot of the same veins. I have more videos just like this one that I want to give to you that will help you give language and help start making some action happen in your life in a restorative way. I particularly suggest checking out my video on self-forgiveness. It's the one that I always push, but I'm really proud of it. It got like almost no views, and it's probably because my thumbnail was super bad. I want to be a positive voice in your life, especially if you don't have a lot of those in your life right now. And if nothing else, hey, leave a comment. Remember that you don't have to carry any of these things alone. We're happy to hear it. We're happy to share it together. Thanks. Oh, you got to think about something. I always encourage you to think about something, right? Here we go. Here's a weird one. Think about how plastic is made today. Like, I have no clue how oil becomes plastic. That's super weird to me. So think about our ability to turn things into other things. I think that's super cool. We're really smart as a species sometimes, even though we're screwing up this planet some days. Thanks. Take care.